don't like this. I don't like to admit this, that this is a fact of life. If you're a psycho and want to make headlines, then you'd realize our schools are soft targets. This is a direct quote from J.D. Vance, our vice president, referencing school shootings being a fact of life in response to the Appalachia High School shooting on September 4th, 2024. He then suggested to add more security at schools to better deal with school shooters. Gun violence on a daily basis has been accepted and normalized as we see more shootings on the news on a daily basis. The accessibility and priority to maintain lenient legislation makes it easy to purchase guns, including military surplus automatic guns like machine guns. As someone that follows up on the news and as a student who has gone through lockdown drills and lockdowns, I don't think I'm the only one who thinks there should be stricter gun restrictions. Today, I will discuss the accessibility and monitoring of guns, the long-term impacts of gun violence, and the lack of immediate government interference. Did you know that only 40% of gun sales are through a federally licensed dealer? In fact, it is also only through federally licensed dealers where background checks are mandatory. This includes the buyer's criminal and mental health history and substance abuse only on the record. At a federal level, the minimum age to purchase a gun is 18 years old. The frontal lobe, which governs reasoning, judgment, and impulse control, fully finishes developing at ages 21 to 22 for women, but for men it's around 30 years old. Around 95% of mass shooters are perpetrated by men, and about 70% of school shooting perpetrators were under 18 years old. Most mass shooters actually obtain their guns legally, while school shooters had access to firearms at home that were purchased legally by family members. Guns are fairly common in the US, as there's an approximated 500 million firearms owned by civilians on the record, but only 6 million of those firearms are registered, and not all firearms are legally required to be registered, so 500 million is a very rough estimate. This accessibility to guns have carried many long-term consequences in America that were sworn to never happen again. After the Columbine shooting, Bill Clinton released a statement that expressed he hoped that America would wake up to the different perspectives of the problems with school shootings, and he hoped that we would be better to prevent these tragedies. There has been over 400 school shootings since Columbine in 1999. Alex Dorrit and his brother Nick were victims of the Parkland High School shooting in 2018. Alex survived a gunshot wound in his head, but his brother Nick did not survive his injuries. Alex reminisced on his memories with Nick and expressed missing him in life. May Nick Dorrit rest in peace. There is also extensive research on higher rates of PTSD symptoms and antidepressant usage present in students exposed to school shootings. The long-term impacts go beyond of the day of these violent tragedies and can affect life prosperity. Studies show that the poor academic performances followed by a school shooting has led to lowered education and employment opportunities. After a school shooting, there is a 27.8% increase in victims being chronically absent and a 124.5% increase of having to repeat a grade. This can delay their start into the workforce and finishing their education on time. It is not fair for students, parents, or the average person to be expected to be better prepared for mass shootings rather than monitor and implement better gun restrictions. There needs to be a reevaluation of priorities from federal to local governments for restrictive gun measures for monitoring. The National Rifle Association, the NRA, carries a huge political influence. They donate generously to Republican government officials, especially to the individuals that directly vote against gun safety or restrictive legislation. In 2021, The NRA spent $4.2 million on lobbying against these measures, and they also donate directly to counties right after they experience school shootings. There should be a higher priority in stricter gun measures and more expensive background checks on the household the gun will reside in, especially focusing on teenagers and their psychological presence. In Japan, no one except for hunters and target shooters under very strict conditions can purchase a handgun or rifle. In 2023, only 9 incidents involving the discharge of a firearm were reported in Japan. The government in the United States has not done enough to prevent this consistent trauma. Our voices need to be accurately represented, and the laws need to reflect more consideration to public safety. Today, we went over different factors that shape and influence the prevalent gun violence in the United States. Those factors being guns being extremely accessible without being closely monitored as they should be, their immediate and long-term impacts, and what is influencing restrictive gun laws in the United States. Children to adults should not bear the responsibility to prepare and protect in anticipation of gun violence at schools or public events. Corruption ends up affecting people like you and me in little ways, from tax-funded personal spendings to elementary school children receiving both earthquake and school shooter drills. Please vote and consider those atrocities and their impacts when you are voting. May all the lost loved ones rest in peace, and may the victims affected by gun violence heal and prosper. Thank you.